What's good, YouTube? It's Justice I Used to Be Paid, and today I'm back with another video. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about why Playboi Carti pretty much makes no sense. But before I get into the video, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Do all those things. It helps me out a ton. We're almost at 30K, so make sure y'all are subbing up. This video for me is pretty much me just being a Carti fan and just getting stuff off my chest more than like a deep breakdown analysis. I could do that later on, but this one is just me being like, what is going on here? And it's a privilege of mine that I have because I do have a platform now. So I feel like a lot of other fans can kind of speak through me in this video. But the position that Playboi Carti is in right now makes zero sense. Playboi Carti has not dropped an album in 3.5 years since Whole Lotta Red. And in general, in most people's careers, that would be a major issue. Obviously, you know, there's the huge superstars, the Drakes, the Kanyes, the Kendricks, the Travis Scotts, who don't really have to drop albums that, you know, soon. They can take off multiple years at a time. But for a guy like Playboi Carti, who is a star in his own right, don't get me wrong, but he's not these massive, you know, mega superstars that I just listed before that. So he's a star, but he's not this huge, massive worldwide phenom. If you don't drop an album for 3.5 years, for most of the guys in his position around that area, that's an issue. That's a problem. Most people are looking around like, where is this dude? What is going on? What is he doing with his career? He had all this momentum with Whole Lotta Red, and then he just never followed it up. Like, what is he doing? Did he fall off? You're getting thrown into those falling off conversations. Like, these are the things that typically happen when an artist like Carti in his position does not drop an album in 3.5 years. But throughout this 3.5 years, he's become a bigger star since Whole Lotta Red. He's become bigger than ever. He has more numbers than ever. His streams are up. His YouTube music video numbers are up. His Spotify monthly listeners are up. Like, everything pretty much for the most part is up for Playboi Carti. So for most people, you're like, okay, well, I guess, you know, since he hasn't been dropping any albums, maybe he's just gone on like a crazy singles run. Like, he's got crazy singles. They're all going #1. Like, he's just going nuts. He's got the summer anthem every summer. Like, maybe that's what it is. But no, Playboi Carti has not dropped an official single outside of Instagram and YouTube, which I don't even know if you can really count those. Now, you will look at the fact that, you know, Carti's been doing some features here and there. He's been on a pretty remarkable feature run. Most people are saying like, oh my God, Carti's been snapping on these filters. He's been going crazy. And these are the things that have boosted him up. These features have gone super crazy, right? But when you actually count the numbers, it's like less than 10 features in 3 years. Maybe 10. It's not that many, okay? It's not like he's on a J. Cole feature run where he's showing up on everybody's album and he's just bodying. He's doing features here and there. Quite literally here and there. Like maybe a couple a year. And it's just going nuts. Now, mind you, these are huge features like Carnival, Off the Grid, Type-ish. Like, these are all songs that are going super, super crazy. Fiend, another one, going super, super crazy. But it's not like he's just doing a feature for every project and Playboi Carti's everywhere. Like, he's doing more than what we would normally see from him. But in general, it's not like he's just dropping these crazy feature verses once every 2 months or anything. Like, no, he shows up and it goes viral. And then he just goes back into his cave or wherever the hell he goes for the time periods that he doesn't drop music. So Carti is basically building all this momentum without even having to drop his own music. Then at the end of 2023 and the early parts of 2024, we get this really strange but successful singles run from Carti. But these singles aren't being put out officially. They're not on the radio. They're not on DSPs. They're on his backup Instagram and his YouTube channel. So these are, I don't know if you can even really consider them official releases. Maybe the YouTube ones, but the Instagram ones probably not. But all of these songs, he drops about 6 of them, have a different sound to what we're used to hearing. It's not super, super groundbreaking, but it's, you know, featuring a deeper voice, and he's trying some new things, new production on these singles, and he's killing it. All right, he's going crazy. The numbers are up. Everyone's talking about Playboi Carti. Oh my gosh, whenever the British bald dude pops up on Instagram and says Carti's dropping, it's huge. He's dropping these singles. They're going crazy numbers-wise. And this is on his alt Instagram account, mind you. This isn't on his main Instagram. He's on his alt Instagram, and each of the reels for the music videos are doing 20 million plus views. 20 million plus views. You go to his YouTube, he has close to 75 million views combined on the 2 music videos that he dropped. These are crazy numbers. Crazy numbers. He drops 6 of these songs pretty much in a row. Ketamine comes out, you know, like maybe like a month after Evil Jordan, I believe, which was the one before that. So there's like a little bit of a gap. But for the most part, it was song after song after song after song in a couple of months span. So he's built up all this crazy momentum, and then he takes a little bit of a small break, and then he pops back out with the Type-ish feature on Metro Boomin and Future's album, and that's one of the biggest songs on the album. That song went like number 2, I believe, on the Billboard Hot 100 chart. So he's got all this crazy momentum, and he's been teasing an album the whole time. Cardi's coming. Oh my gosh, album 2024 music. He's on Aiden Ross's stream, 2024 music. Like he's teasing this album. He's built up all this momentum. Fans are on the edge of their seats. They're so excited. So what does he do with all this momentum? Nothing. Literally nothing. Like, he doesn't announce that he's going to drop an album soon. He doesn't announce the date. He doesn't give us a official album cover. He does nothing. He just goes radio silent, and we haven't heard from him since that feature. I also didn't mention the fact that Playboi Carti has been scheduled to go on tour too. First, he was supposed to go on tour, this Antagonist tour that was going to take all of Opium. He announced the tour for fall of 2023 in the United States. And then the tour was going to finish up at the end of the year in Europe and start the new year in Europe and then finish. And that would be the last leg of the tour. But that got eventually canceled and pushed back. And then he pushed the tour back to start in the winter of 2023 in Europe. It was going to start in Europe, but then the tour got canceled a couple of days before the first performance. So now we have no clue when this supposed Antagonist tour is supposed to happen. So not only are the fans who bought tickets early disappointed, which I'm not going to lie, like if you bought tickets early, bro, I don't know what you were expecting, low-key. Like, it's Cardi, bro. That's all I'm gonna say. Like, it's Cardi. Now we're just out in the open. We don't know what's gonna happen. But the rest of Opium, who were supposed to go on this tour after their new releases, more specifically Ken Carson with A Great Chaos, were just kind of sitting on the sidelines, just like losing a little bit of the excitement that was there for their performances as well as Cardi's. It wasn't just him on the tour. Ken Carson, Destroy Lonely, and Homicide Gang, like they all had some hype behind them and people wanting to see them, especially wanting to see Opium all together. Now, Ken has gone on tour with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, which is crazy, but still, like, imagine how crazy he would have been going, or they all would have been going on an Opium tour. And also, since we're speaking about Cardi's artists when it comes to the label Opium, one of the things that still just does not make sense to me is the fact that Cardi has never given any of his artists a feature. Homicide Gang hasn't had one. Ken Carson hasn't had one. Destroy Lonely hasn't had one. None of them have gotten an official feature from Playboi Carti, and they've been signed to him for like 3 years or something like that. 2.5, 3 years, something like that. Maybe longer. But still, like, none of them have a feature. And you know what? I was kind of on Cardi's side when they first, like, really became Opium. Like, they were signed, but when they really became, like, the big brand and they were really a label that was picking up steam, I was like, you know what? I kind of get it. Because when you're an artist like a Playboi Carti who's so distinct from kind of everything else in rap, like, people look at you and see that you're very different, and they just kind of put you in this bubble outside of normal rappers. So I was like, you know what? Him giving his artist a feature, or not giving his artist a feature, gives them time to develop their own character. It gives them time to develop their own identities. I was like, you know what? That makes sense, because to the average, you know, casual listener who's not really that big of a fan of Playboi Carti, but likes a couple songs here, maybe they like Magnolia and Sky or whatever, they're going to see Cardi and they're going to see these artists signed to him that look, you know, kind of similar. They got, you know, dreads. They also wear kind of similar things. Their music is, you know, somewhat similar. They're just going to say, oh, these guys are Cardi clones. They're just going to call them Cardi clones. They're going to be known as Cardi clones. So I got that. I was like, you know what? Let them develop on their own. Let them get their own buzz. Let them build up their own hype. That makes sense. I'm there with you. But now it's like, bro, I think it's time for the feature. Like, it's been long enough. Everyone knows these guys. Not like mainstream. They're not mainstream superstars, but most rap fans have at least maybe heard the name. And even if they haven't heard the name by now, 2 or 3 years in, you probably want to introduce them into that audience by now. You gave them enough time to develop on their own, but none of these dudes have gotten a feature yet. None of them. It's crazy, because in general, when people sign to other rappers, when rappers sign to a rapper's label, that's like the first thing that happens is they get a feature from the big rapper. More times than not, that's one of the first things that happen. So it's just really weird to see that this hasn't happened yet for any of the artists in Opium. But at the same time, these dudes have had a lot of success without that. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, Ken Carson has had a lot of success without having a Cardi feature. Destroy Lonely has had a lot of success without a Cardi feature. Now, the only ones who you might say are like a failure, which I wouldn't call Homicide Gang a failure, but they're the only ones who haven't been going like super, super crazy from Opium. And not everyone's going to go crazy. Not every artist is going to be selling and doing, like, so I wouldn't call them a failure, but Ken and Destroy Lonely have been doing just fine without that Cardi. It just doesn't make sense. Okay, it just doesn't make sense. Like, why would you not give them a feature? But at the same time, you could argue they really don't need it now at this point, Maybe earlier on, but at this point, you can argue, especially for Ken, maybe Destroy Lonely not so, but for Ken, you could say, oh, he doesn't need it. It just everything that happens here makes no sense. The decisions that Cardi has been making make so little sense that his subreddit is starting to make theories about why he's doing them. Like, and I mean real theories. I don't just mean like, oh, well, maybe it's this. No, like they're painting pictures and making theories and hypotheses and all types of crazy stuff. Like, the fact that he had all that momentum and didn't give us anything in terms of an album, or not even just giving us the album, maybe a date or anything like that, like had all that momentum and did nothing with it, fans are like, there has to be something wrong. The fans in his subreddit are like, maybe it's a health thing. There's a theory going around in his subreddit that's like Cardi's probably going through like health issues. Maybe that's why he hasn't dropped his album. You know, he's talked about drugs before in his songs, and maybe he's like really sickly and weak, and that's why. Like, people are making theories because everything that he's doing makes that little sense. It makes so little sense to have all that momentum and do nothing with it that people are like, all right, there has to be something wrong here. Okay, maybe it's drugs, maybe it's, you know, his bad diet that's been talked about, that he like eats like real like a child or something. Like, people are talking about theories because they just don't understand what's happening. It just doesn't make sense. Now, in my opinion, I'm not going to sit up here and be like, yeah, the man's on drugs. That's why I don't know. Okay. We don't know. There's no real proof of anything, but if there was anything that was stopping him from the album outside of him just like not liking what he was going to put out, it'd probably just be label issues if I had to put anything out there, because that's what happens to most artists. But still, fans are so confused. They're making up theories as to why this man has not dropped an album. But what's really crazy about this whole Playboi Carti thing is that he doesn't really have to do much to get this attention back. He might have to just put out one tweet and everyone's talking about Cardi again. Oh my God, when's the album coming out? He could literally drop one single and probably get most of that hype back. He might not even have to drop a new single. He could probably just put all the stuff he put out on Instagram and YouTube onto DSPs and have the entire internet like, oh snap, Cardi's about to drop, Cardi's about to put out an album, with just putting his albums on an official, or putting his singles that he put out on an official platform. I really believe that's really all it would take. That's what's so crazy about this, because with certain artists, when they get this type of momentum, you can't let it go. You have to capitalize on it. Look at somebody like DaBaby. When he had that momentum, he was going crazy. He was dropping. He was trying to take advantage of it. And then once he lost that momentum, it's been very hard for him to get it back. Most artists aren't able to get that type of momentum back at all, let alone easily. All Cardi would have to do right now is put out like an Instagram post and everyone's buzzing again, waiting to see where the British bald dude is. If we come out on the other side of this and somehow Cardi has done bigger numbers than what he did on Whole Lotta Red with this next album, I don't really know what to say. Like, I just won't even really be able to explain it that well, because Whole Lotta Red sold like 120K first week. If this new project sells 150K, let's say, or anything above 150 would be insane, especially in this era where like everyone's numbers are lower. And honestly, 120 4 years ago is not equal to 120 now. 120 now is way more than it was 4 years ago. So if he comes out with like a 150 or something like that, I don't know. Like, I genuinely don't know. Like, this would be something beyond like a diehard fan base, because everyone would be like, oh, well, you know, he has a diehard fan base, but the way that Cardi treats his fans in terms of giving them nothing, this is like a cult at this point. It's got to be like a cult at this point, because it just would be insane. It would be really crazy for him to do better numbers than he did in the past after losing all that momentum. First off, not even carrying on the momentum from Whole Lotta Red, but let alone the momentum he just gained a couple months ago. After losing all that, if his album still is able to come back and garner a whole bunch of hype and sell more than Whole Lotta Red, that's pretty remarkable. And to really end things off, we got the whole mysterious gimmick. We know with Cardi, he's super mysterious, he's super rare, he posts with all those special characters whenever he types, like he's supposed to be mysterious, okay, we all know. But that gimmick has kind of died. Like, it's kind of been dead for a couple, maybe like a year now at this point. People, whenever they see anyone playing the mysterious role, they're just like, bro, give it up. Just drop music or don't. Like, we don't care. Like, we're not trying to hear that from you, bro. We don't care. You're not mysterious. You're a regular person. Like, when Trippie Redd was still doing the mysterious thing, people were like, Trippie, like, that's corny. Like, don't do that. Or So Fago, people were like, we don't really, like, but Cardi's still able to keep this mysterious gimmick going somehow. And I know some people might say like, oh, well, you know, what about like, you know, The Weeknd or Frank Ocean or Ye or Travis Scott? Like, they kind of do the mysterious thing to a certain extent. And you're right, they do the mysterious thing to a certain extent. But those guys are all superstars, like super duper stars, selling hundreds of thousands first week, like crazy numbers on Spotify, all that stuff, like crazy, doing massive shows, doing like stadium like performances. Besides Frank Ocean, I think everybody else I named has done or could do a stadium. Okay. And Cardi is still kind of on that rise period. Cardi hasn't sold more than 120K first week on an album. For those type of guys that still are able to do this mysterious thing, they are worldwide phenoms. They're superstars all around the world. Cardi is still, he can do Europe performances and stuff like that, but he's not on that level. So for him to still be able to pull off the mysterious act, while it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. That's all I can really say about Cardi in this video. It doesn't make sense. And let alone the gimmick. This man is like how old is he? Like 27? He's a 27-year-old mysterious vampire? Is that not kind of crazy? That's kind of crazy. A vampire is kind of crazy, but it works for the most part. It still works. Most people, when they have gimmicks like that, they get, clowned, especially in rap. And Cardi does get clowned, but still his fan base is just so strong. I think that's really the moral of this story. Get a Cardi fan base. Somehow, if you can, get a Cardi fan base, because there's nothing like it, I don't think. For how small it is, even though it's not a small fan base, it is a big fan base. For how small it is in comparison to like these other major stars, that fan base is able to weaponize itself better than pretty much anyone else. Like pound for pound, it's the best fan base in my opinion. The way that they support Cardi is insane. It's insane. Even through like the controversial stuff, the arrests, the bad charges that are really a bad look. People heard about those charges, those DV charges that came out like maybe a year ago. And the first thing that they did was, like low key, that mugshot's kind of hard, bro. I'm gonna have to make that my profile pic. Most artists, oh my God, their fan base would be devastated. I can't believe this. This is, it's a horrible day. They were like, hey, that mugshot low key tough, bruh. Really, I should have titled this video, Playboi Carti's fan base makes no sense, because for the things that he does, the decisions he's making, and the lack of music that he's dropping, the amount of success makes no sense. In comparison to most other rappers, I don't even know if Drake could move like this. I don't know if Drake could move like this, because it just is so strange, but it works. But yeah, this is my little video. I just wanted to throw a rant out about how Playboi Carti just makes no sense. It just is his entire thing makes no sense, and the fans are they're just insane. They're incredible fans. They're the exact fan base that literally anyone who's doing content or making music or doing anything would want, because they are supporting you to the very end. To the very end. But if you made it this far, I greatly appreciate you. Have a good day. Be safe. Be blessed. I go by the name of Justice. Peace.